I will call this meeting of the Board of Fair Commissioners to order. I am Sherry Winger, current chair of the board, and as information for our audience, if you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Metro Board of Fair Commissioners today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. I am going to move to the approval of the minutes, and we have 4 sets of minutes to approve. And so I'm just going to start back in December. We have the minutes from the December 8th public hearing for the Bristol Motor Speedway proposal. It was held at December 8th at 5 p.m., and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
I did just have a question. Why did we wait until this meeting to approve them? Is it they just weren't ready? Or?
They weren't ready.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Do I hear a motion to move approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, and we'll go around the room. Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley?
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Diego's not here. Okay, so it passes, and we will move on to, I'll sign them in a minute. We will move on to the February 20th public hearing for Bristol Motor Speedway, and that was held at 6 p.m., and I will again entertain a motion for approval of the minutes as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
What day was that again?
That was February 20th.
Okay. Hold on. Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move for approval. Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley?
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes. We will now move to the minutes. I'm going to take 2 seconds of a break with your permission to introduce our newest commissioner. Commissioner Diego, it is nice to meet you. We are so happy to have you. We do a first name basis here.
Perfect. Thank you. That's probably better for everyone because my last name is Eguiarte, so good luck with that.
Well, we like first names, so we do that here.
I love them.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself momentarily and introduce yourself to the crowd?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Diego Eguiarte. I am, I think, the newest guy here. I am replacing a good friend of mine, Mario Davila. And I've been in Nashville for close to 8 years now. I'm, of course, a member of the Latino community here in town. I've been working with multiple nonprofits here since I got to Nashville, Conexión Americas in particular, so very familiar with the area, the community surrounding this area, the reason why I'm so interested in being here. Also, I come with a little bit of knowledge around Metro. I spent 3 years in the most recent administration as part of the performance management program. I was director of that program, so very familiar with Metro budgeting, et cetera. So hoping to be helpful in that area here as well. And just very excited to be here. I think there's a lot of opportunities, very promising future for the region, and a lot of things to be taken care of also to make sure that neighbors and everyone involved is happy with the outcomes. So excited to be here, hopeful to be of service.
Perfect. We are so happy to have you. Thank you for being here. Anybody want to welcome him?
Welcome, Diego, and I'm Anthony Owens, a native of Nashville as well.
Commissioner Hartley.
Just want to say thanks for your time and your service to the community. Todd Hartley, we met at your confirmation hearing. Really glad to have you.
Thank you.
And good to see you again. Diego, we met on Friday. So look forward to serving with you.
Great. We're going to move back to minutes. So I will now open the floor for minutes of the meeting held March 14th. Actually, let me back up. I picked up the wrong ones. I apologize. We will address the minutes for the work session for the Bristol Motor Speedway proposal dated February 16th. And I will open the floor for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I was going to say I still need a second. Okay. Is there any question, any comment? Okay. We will move approval. Commissioner Owens.
Aye.
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 Commissioner.
Aye.
Okay. That one passes. I was an aye. It didn't pick up. Okay. And minutes of the Metro Board of Fair Commissioners meeting held March 14th at 6 p.m. is the last one I will open for a motion to approve.
So move.
Commissioner Hendricks. I need a second.
Second.
Commissioner Hartley, thank you. And I will open the floor for any questions, comment, corrections, discussion.
Just have one note, Commissioner Weiner. I emailed Laura earlier. I think it'd be good, just for clarity, to attach a copy of the lease document as amended in the meeting where we approved it to the meeting minutes. And I think Laura has a copy of that already. So that's my only suggestion, that we just amend approval of minutes to add the document to the minutes.
I am going to have a motion to accept the amendment. So
Can I make that motion?
you can make that a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second to his motion?
Second.
Commissioner Hendricks seconds. And I'm going to open the floor for any discussion, questions, or comments. We will.
I just have a last comment, which is I think Laura has it. Otherwise, Tom Cross, I think I have to see you guys can get the document.
Yeah, we can get it. That's not a problem. Okay, we will now vote on the amendment. All in favor? And we'll start with Commissioner Diego.
Aye.
And we'll skip me for now.
Aye.
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 And I am an aye as well. So the amendment passes, and now we will do the motion as amended. Is there any discussion on the motion as amended? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. We'll start over here again. Commissioner Diego.
Aye.
And Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Hartley.
Aye.
Commissioner Owens.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So our minutes are approved as written. And we will now move on to public comment time. And let me just share a couple of things. There is also going to be a time for the community impact. And those who choose to address the board may do so during either public comment time or community impact discussion, not both. So is there anybody that would like to come to the lectern and share? Come on up. Can you guys get her a mic? Can she get the mic down?
Would you mind?
Will you get the mic down for her?
Miss Joy, just push that button with the person on it.
Can you hear me now?
We
Okay.
can. Thanks for being here, Joy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Fair Commissioners. Joy Andall, 2197 Nolensville Pike, District 17. I came today to thank you and your project management team, along with all the community stakeholders involved that have executed on suggestions improving the accessibility of the Fairgrounds campus over the last year. Deliverables that have been created include the new bus stop and shelter, sidewalks in progress connecting Craighead from Nolensville Pike to 8th Avenue, the pedestrian path paint, the accessibility signs, the greenway construction just starting, and the median being leveled on Craighead, and other project milestones soon nearing an end. I roll through the Fairgrounds once or twice a week, and Saturday before the game, I really enjoyed rolling around because not once did I encounter a sidewalk gap or a sidewalk that ended in nowhere. This produced a truly welcoming and inclusive feeling. I can't wait to share with other mobility impaired rollers because I'm passionate about Vision Zero in Nashville and any improvements made for the BPED community accessible community safety on this campus has been, thank y'all for hearing me and acting. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Joy, thank you for being here, and I think you'll see shortly what an exemplary team we have, and they have been duly awarded, and you'll hear about that here shortly. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at public comment? Mr. Smiley, you're up.
Shane Smiley, Brush Hill Road, Nashville. Couple of things. A, I'd like to see you readdress the parking fee increase. It's not fair to the people that utilize this facility in the charter mandated uses to make up for a financial gap that's left because of the decisions of past fair boards that didn't bring in enough revenue to make us revenue neutral. We shouldn't be paying the fees for other people utilizing this facility. Another point, Fair Park Phase 2. I see that there's construction beginning on it. There's no MOU. There's no agreement. There's never been an agreement or a vote by any fair board to go forward with Fair Park Phase 2. In fact, we have from the director in Fair Board minutes that I've sent most of you where that area would remain parking. To follow that up during the court case to determine if the mixed-use development in the soccer stadium was going to be applicable for this property, Metro, under oath, put forward that the Fair Park Phase 2 area would be utilized as parking. It's under oath. It's part of the own parking study. So to be moving through with no MOU, that should be settled and should be put to a halt today. There is no reason to be doing anything with Fair Park Phase 2. It's already been determined by the courts what will be utilized that facility for. Metro, under oath, said that it would be parking. Trying to do anything now is simply trying to undermine what was put forward to the people and put forward to the courts. I hope you put a stop to that immediately. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is anyone else wishing to speak? Not? I declare the public comment period is closed, and we will move to monthly reports. And Satrice, will you give us a financial update, please?
Hello, everyone. The financial information presented today is preliminary, and all revenue and expenses for April 2023 may not have been recorded to the ledgers as of May 8th, 2023, when this report was created. The preliminary actuals through April 2023 are as follows. Revenue is approximately $2.9 million. Expenditures are around $3.4 million, resulting in a net loss of approximately $435,856. Depreciation expense is a little over $1 million. So the total net loss is roughly $1.4 million. Below you will find an itemized list of our revenues and expenses. Our top 3 revenue sources are flea market, corporate sales events, and the divisional fair. Flea market revenue is roughly $760,687, which is 26% of our total revenue. Corporate sales events is around a little over $1 million, which represents 36%. Divisional fair is $546,181, which is 18% of our total revenue. Our top 3 expenses are payroll, purchased services, and low cap. Payroll expense is $1.2 million, which represents 38% of our total expenses. Purchased service expense is $745,371, which is 22% of our total expenses. Low cap expense is around $370,294, which is 11% of our total expenses. For the month of May, our revenue projection is approximately $158,678. We anticipate 41% collection of revenue from flea market, 48% from corporate sales events, 11% from the racetrack and contracts. On the aging report, we have approximately $10,900 in outstanding invoices. All of the promoters have been contacted and invoiced, and we expect payment soon. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Hartley.
I just got my monthly question, which is, I'm looking at this budget sheet So, Satrice, do you feel like we're still on track to meet our budget projection from the beginning of the fiscal year?
Yes.
For the revenues on the track, was that for the one race that we had?
For the 59,000, that is for all revenue pertaining to the racetrack. So that's the rent for the 9 months that they will. We're not quite at 9 months, but they have 9 months of rent that they pay. It's for a number of races, and it's also parking and concessions and practices.
I'll also mention, we are in this, our fiscal year starts mid-season of the race season. So July 1, we still have over half of the race season from last year. And then it's the beginning of this season. So we've got, really, it bridges 2 racing seasons.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So, and it's a piggyback off of Commissioner Hartley. If we are going to be meeting budget expectations, how are we going to be able to do that when there are a couple of items that we've already exceeded the budget allowance? So, like, for instance, purchase services, it was budgeted for $673,000, but year to date it was $745,000, and then temporary services at $353,000 was budgeted. I mean, not that, but insurance and permits was budgeted at $458,000, but we're already at $370,000. Do you think it's going to go over?
Okay, so let's start with the purchase services. The reason that particular budget item is over is because during the fair, we budgeted more of the fair workers into temporary services because we thought that a lot of them would be paid out of that avenue. However, we were given the opportunity to pay them through a program called Clear Path with First Horizon. So with that being said, their category was then deemed purchase services, how we expense them. So that's why that's over a little. So I also want to kind of clarify about us meeting the budget. So if you look at each line item for revenue, all of these revenue items, we said that we're going to bring in XYZ dollars. So flea market, we're going to bring in this. Contracts, we're going to bring in that. Then you see that line that says subsidy.
Yeah. That's the difference. Okay. All right. Okay.
That's the gap.
All right, thank you. That's Diego's expertise, he told me, too. So he's going to have some thoughts on closing that down in the next few years.
Yes, help us.
Very much so.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to events update, and I will call on our director, Laura Womack.
Sure. So in your packets, you have a May and June calendar. I did make sure to put in the soccer games as I know it per Commissioner, I believe it was Hartley's request, make sure those were on there, which they are. So this is, I put draft on here because this is subject to change. We are actually working on additional events that will actually be added to this, but since they are in the beginning of contracting, I didn't want to put them down in the event that didn't get fully executed. So this is most accurate, but I would anticipate maybe a couple more events being added in the next week or two. I think it's really exciting because what you'll see, especially in June, is we're starting to get more looks for weekday bookings, corporate meetings, private events, sales trainings, things like that, some metro. So it's exciting to, start activating the venue during the week. I do have, with the Chair's permission, I'd like to just give you a little flea market update, but I would like to call on our wonderful flea market coordinator, Marissa Ellington-Catano. She's worked so hard, and I want her to talk to you a little bit about the efforts that the flea market staff has put into growing our market after, the devastating pandemic, and then share some good news with you of something that happened last week.
How about now? Perfect. So we just concluded our April market last month. Typically, April is one of our largest markets of the year. We had over 375 vendors this market, which is one of our largest since returning from COVID. I felt important to note that we had over 870 booths, which puts us at over 50% capacity, which again is something that we have not had since pre-COVID. We also did go to City Council last week and receive an extension for our rent relief program. So we will be not only continuing with that program, but we did get an extension to exhaust funds. So that will make a huge difference not only in our market, but also in keeping that money here at the fairgrounds. We are still continuing to grow our market. Every single month, we are doing more vendor recruitment than has ever been done before. In addition to that, we're also doing more social media advertising than we had ever had before. And we're looking forward to a very full and busy May market.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Marissa?
Yes.
I just want to go ahead.
Have you had any concerns over parking?
Our last couple markets have been during soccer games, so that always brings an interesting workaround for all of us to be able to accommodate the parking that we currently have. So we've seen an increase in like our Sundays and our Fridays versus our Saturday market traffic that we normally would have a larger market. But overall, all of our customers and our vendors know that we are actively working on our parking, and we're hoping once construction is finished that there'll be room to accommodate all of us.
And as far as paying for parking, how are they receiving that?
We have not, are you talking about the fee increase?
Yes,
We've
we have
not,
not yet.
we've not implemented
Okay.
that yet. But I will tell you that we've sent out a flea market vendor satisfaction survey. And one of the questions, we kind of hit all topics. And some of the comments that I've seen is specifically to parking, that they're satisfied. And I can share those results once we close the surveys and share that with you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for everything that you've done. This has been a yeoman's job, and we just owe you a debt of gratitude for turning this around. So thank you.
I had a quick question, if possible. I want to commend you for the work that you have done with the flea market. I do pop in every once in a while, so just trying to find some gifts and stuff for people. But my question would be about the rent relief program. Out of the 300, you said 300 vendors? 380 vendors?
We had 375 this past month.
375. How many of them participated in the rent relief program?
160. And I would say that's about average. Right now, we have about 45% of our vendors are rent relief vendors.
Okay, and about how much money is left?
We have a little under 600,000 is what we're projected to have at the end of our.
Yeah, 600.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And there will be out of that balance some administrative fees that go to Pathway Lending for the administration of the grant program.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Okay. Director Womack, it's all yours.
Great, thank you. Two quick things. Number one, I wanted to introduce our new operations manager, Ronnie Haywood, but he had a daughter to pick up at school, so he's going to join us next month. But we did fill that position. He's been in it for approximately 4 weeks and really hit the ground running. He's really a fantastic addition, so I can't wait for you to meet him because he's already made an impact. The other thing I wanted to mention, as you stated, that we have most recently won an award for excellence in development, and I have to give a shout out to Dirk and his team because they did too. the same night, but I wanted to just let everybody know we did win the 2023 ULI, which is Urban Land Institute Nashville. We won the Excellence in Development Award along with 4 other just well-deserving projects in Nashville for the Fairgrounds Nashville campus in Geodis Park. So it was really fun, and Chair Wiener got to go, and it was just a really fun time. And they did a People's Choice Award, so there's 18 projects that were nominated across Nashville. So we were one of 5 winners, and then they did a People's Choice Award, and we were really, really close, but we got second in the People's Choice. So it just was a really lovely evening, and all of our project partners, so all the way from Skanska to GHP and Hawkins Partners, and I know I'm going to forget a ton of people, but I think we had like at least 25 people up there representing everyone who had a part or a hand in all of our construction projects to date. So it's really a shout out to the entire team.
And when we went in, we just knew we were going to win anyway. Okay. Seeing nothing else, we are now going to move into old business, and we'll do the Fairgrounds Improvement Project. Mr. Gobble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, it's always good to be here, and I would like to express our appreciation for Director Walman and her staff and all the help they put into submitting on that award. So it's an excellent job. Typically, we start off our presentation with Ed Henley. He's traveling right now, so Katie Sheasley, with a master's in civil engineering, has been helping with a lot of these projects, and so she's going to do Ed's part. Good.
Okay. Good afternoon, Fair Board members. So you have Ed's packet in front of you, and we start off with the Fairgrounds Expo budget. And just a quick reminder that paid to date reflects only after invoices that have been paid, roughly 60 to 90 days after the work has been performed. So if you look at the blue sheets, the totals have remained the same. We have moved contingency money to allow for additional projects that need to be done here at the Expo. The multi-purpose building is complete and has a final UNO. Any questions on these before I move to Fair Park?
Anybody have any questions?
Okay. So the green sheets are Fair Park Phase 1. We had a contingency amount that has now been moved to Fair Park Phase 2. Phase 2 is under construction, and we will be seeing charges against that account. Any questions on Fair Park? Okay.
I have some questions, but I'm assuming we're going to go over the picture of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll go through them.
And last but not least, Infrastructure Part 2. We've just started on that with design, and we'll have more information on that with the presentations. We're working with NDOT and WEGO on the Wingrove-Nolensville Pike intersection and starting design on the continuation of Speedway Alley across Browns Creek to Craighead. And we'll be working with Stormwater for approval on several modifications.
Thank you. Okay.
So did we answer any questions about the financial aspects of it?
Yeah. Sorry, Sherry, if I may.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Todd.
Infrastructure Part 2, can you just give me a quick bullet list of what I think I heard Speedway Alley and the intersection of Wingrove and Nolensville? What other elements are in that?
We're going to show you a master plan. Maybe as part of the Phase 2, we can probably talk you through a little bit better and point to it at that time. So that's, we'll just try to, if I forget that, make sure we come back to it. And we've also been discussing that this would be a good opportunity to take you through a little bit of an overview of what we've been calling the stormwater variance and the stormwater management plan, and as well as the work that's under construction. So if we could call up that PowerPoint, and I'm going to, while Laura's doing that, I would like the opportunity to introduce Connie Richardson. She was the CFO for our firm. She retired recently. We brought her back to help with the numbers so Katie and I can worry about the engineering and other aspects of it. So we're glad to have Connie here tonight. To give this presentation, Nathan Oliver is a landscape architect. He's been involved in this project from the beginning. He works for Hawkins Partners, and he's going to come up and kind of walk you through these steps, and then we can answer questions as you have them. Nathan?
All right. I guess you can go to the next slide there. Okay, so to kind of start, we'll start at the beginning. Again, my name's Nathan Oliver. I'm with Hawkins Partners. We're the landscape architecture and planning firm that has been working on the Fairgrounds since this first project that we'll talk about here. So the stormwater variance was first sought when Fair Park plans were initially done. That variance included reforestation that brought trees back into certain areas and pockets within the Fair Park extents. It included rain gardens to capture and treat the stormwater that was falling on the site and do that in a more sustainable and meaningful way. It included meadow restorations that you see out there right now. It included the multi-purpose, multi-use fields that also serve as the temporary parking that you've seen. And that was separated out into a phase 1 and phase 2. And so at that time, phase 1 was funded and it began and completed construction in 2009 with the 2019. Thank you, Ron. With the yes, sometimes projects run under. Run over. We actually ran 10 years under. Anyways, so at that time, phase 2 was going to be a future phase. And we can kind of go through the next slide and kind of explain that a little bit more. So this is the original master plan from 2017 that outlines the full Fair Park plan. Phase 2, which we'll see here, the separate phases, I should say, which we'll see here in just a moment, is separated at the pit area that you know of today. One thing that you will notice on this plan when the Fair Park was done, the other projects that have since been completed, the Expo, the soccer stadium, the new infrastructure roads, were not a part of that plan as those came later, which we'll see on the next slides here. As a part of that management plan, we also identified the multi-use and purpose for the fields, and that being temporary parking. That was included as a part of the management plan. It was approved by the Stormwater Variance Committee to be used for that purpose. Since the majority of this area, as I know a number of you were not on the board at the time that this went through, but the majority of the approximately 45 acres that comprises both phase 1 and phase 2 is within the floodway and within the floodway buffers. Those are distinguished or noted with those red lines that you can kind of see on that plan right now. That is the area that we've all seen in various flood stages of Browns Creek, where the water will get outside of the channelized flow right now and into that space. And for that reason, we had to go forward with the redevelopment of this even into the park to seek the stormwater variance for those items that we noted. This temporary parking plan was a part of that. As I had mentioned, phase 1 was completed in 2019. The portions that were not a part of that original plan, that included Geodis Park, the Expo buildings, the mixed-use projects, Block C that's under construction now, and the extension of Wedgwood and addition of Benton Avenue were all added to the campus plan. As work adjacent to Fair Park has been completed, including this facility here, as well as the Wedgwood Avenue Extension Management Plan, those projects included work to address the stormwater capacity as required by the stormwater, by Metro Stormwater, to account for the requirements of that variance and the requirements of the work along Browns Creek. What that did not include was the addition of the meadow restoration areas as well as the greenway that would come in the next phase. Now what you see up on the screen, there is an updated campus plan that includes those other projects I just mentioned. It outlines what comprises phase 1 and phase 2. You can see a small black line there just between the existing drive up to turn one and the pit right now. That is the designation between phase 1 and 2. So all the area to the right of that line will be what is completed with this next phase 2, that has just started construction. So as a part of that work, the greenway will be completed, that you can kind of see in that white line. And this is a little bit blurry, but I think you all have copies that you can see there. That includes the greenway that will connect phase 1 and will go all the way to the corner of Windgrove and Nolensville Road. There will be a trailhead at that end of the greenway as well. There's an existing trailhead as a part of phase 1 at the opposite side, so there'll be one at each end of Fair Park. It includes the meadow restoration areas that are really intended to encourage infiltration, encourage habitat and biodiversity. It also is a way to stabilize the ground. I know there have been some floods since then. What we've kind of heard from Laura as well as from Metro Water, the resiliency of this space now has far improved with these improvements. And we're looking forward to the same results with this phase 2. As Ron mentioned, NDOT is also constructing a sidewalk that's going along Craighead Street right now. That's separate but happening at the same time. Under construction right now. That's happening just adjacent to the work that'll be a part of phase 2. And then what you see in gray there too is the existing pit area that will remain as a part of this phase as paved. That is outside of the floodway right now. And then in the next phase, that will be addressed as a part of that adjacent space.
Can I step in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Again, we'd like to express our appreciation. Can we go back to that slide, Laura? Just a second. Express our appreciation for NDOT. That sidewalk, by the way, is going to be a wide 8-foot sidewalk that's going to help support the rideshare for the various fairground events in that area. And like I said, that's under construction. We do know the WeGo stop there that has been the first bus shelter has been installed. So that's up and running. And then, so any questions on just this portion of it? And then I'll talk a little bit about part 2.
Any questions? Commissioner Hartley.
Yeah, just a couple questions to make sure I understand what I'm looking at. So the large gray sort of curvy rectangle on the left, is that the big sidewalk that we see that just went in?
No, this drawing actually doesn't show the sidewalk because this was only showing what we're doing in phase 2. But that is the existing pit area that's outside of the buffer.
So the sidewalk would be sort of towards Craighead from
right
there.
along Craighead. And it's,
okay. Will we have continued fencing around the edge of the fairground?
We're going to have some fencing that's going to be included, not all the way around, but we're working right now with your Director Walmart and trying to determine exactly where we need to contain areas. So it'd be extensive fencing, but
I can give just a quick update. So along this area, because we're continuing to use it for certainly access into the speedway, it's important to keep some fencing. So we will have, so I'm right here along Craighead where the sidewalk's going to be. So from,
I don't think your mouse is showing.
So from here to here. Sorry, I know I need to be on the mic. So from the phase 1 line to Wedgwood, that is going to be remaining, that's going to be fenced. And what we're looking at is using a wire mesh if we can swing it in the budget, because it's much more attractive than the chain link, and it's also a little bit more transparent than you see with traditional ornamental, like black aluminum picket fence. And then it will separate the sidewalk from the greenway in the pit area, because I know that Bob needs that. That's important for his use right now for insurance purposes, et cetera, and race operations. As far as this area goes, right here, we are removing the fencing from Wedgwood to Browns Creek, the bridge that goes over Nolensville, because that is really just a naturalized area. We don't use it for anything. The creek is a natural barrier. As far as this area goes, we want to bring the fencing closer up to the fairgrounds so that when people come in from the bus stop, that's all wide open and the greenway is wide open without any barriers there. So you will see a fence relocated where the new Windgrove entrance, which is going to be about this area, and then the fence will kind of run parallel to this roadway line right here up to Wedgwood.
Okay, that's great. I'm just got a couple more. Sherry, just stop me when you need.
No, go ahead.
What is the sort of maintenance plan or all the elements we're talking about today? Is that going to be sort of a joint maintenance with the Fair Park Phase 1, or how are you going to handle that? I'm just thinking, the reason I ask is, it's awesome. I love it. It's great to have all the natural grasses, but we're like in the middle of the city, so I'm just afraid it's going to might get a little dirty in there. So just wanted your thoughts on how we're going to maintain that.
Yeah, so we're going to definitely be working with parks like we typically do for Phase 1. With some of the naturalized areas in our stormwater management plan, it specifies mowing like twice a year. So we'll bush hog it like we do out here currently. So we just have to refer back to how we maintain those areas that was approved in our stormwater management plan. And a lot of it is going to be naturalized, riparian, natural plantings that we won't touch. So
awesome.
Kind of depends.
What's the timeline for Fair Park Phase 2?
It's under construction right now. We're still negotiating the timeline. The challenge is when do you plant? When we first went through the schedule, working on earthwork and what you need to do that and other work that has to go along, we wound up planting in August, which is a bad time to plant. So we're trying to adjust that. You don't want to dig it up too soon and then have it wash away. So it's we're still in that coordination schedule, but we hope to have it substantially complete over the winter.
Any other questions?
I had a quick question. Is there any parking that's included in Phase
Yes,
2?
that's what I was just going to update you on. So Phase 2 does have a parking component in it. It always has, and it will remain that way. It has always been temporary parking in this area as far as part of the stormwater management plan, which actually we're allowed to park in there more than we are on the traditional fields of the multi-purpose field. So that will remain. Not all of it will remain paved, however, because it is in a floodway. I'll remind you, I think it was 2000, maybe August of 2000, hard to remember in the whole COVID time, but we had overflow of Browns Creek that caused $200,000 worth of damage to that area and to the tunnel and into the speedway. So that is one reason what we're trying to mitigate and to protect assets by removing them from the floodway. And this is part of that. However, our plan is to go back to the Stormwater Committee and ask for an adjustment to the variance, because as Nathan and Ron both mentioned, when this was done, this was prior to a lot of the other considerations on campus and a lot of the other buildings and movement of things. Originally the pit was going to be relocated to turn 4, and that obviously didn't happen. So we're trying to restore back as much hard surface parking back in what we refer to as Lot 7 or the pit lot. And then we will have the remaining reinforced turf grass area to also support additional parking. So we're not losing any space back there for parking with this plan. We're actually gaining more paved parking than the original plan contemplated.
Just to make sure I'm following. And that's the area on the left there with the large rectangular block and the green block above it. That's where you're talking about the semi-permanent parking would be. Okay.
Are we able to address Mr. Smiley's concern about approval of this project?
I'm going to let the director answer this and Metro Legal answer this specifically.
I'd have to go back and look at, I believe that the site plan was approved by the Fair Board, and I can go back and pull that.
Yeah, I concur. I would have to go back and look as well.
I'll make a motion to refer the question from Mr. Smiley to Metro Legal for their analysis.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Commissioner
Aye.
Rowland? Commissioner Diego?
Aye.
And I am an aye, so
I don't think I voted, but I didn't vote, but aye.
yes. Got it.
Why would I vote against my own motion, you might ask? I am an aye.
It's late on a Tuesday afternoon, isn't it?
So if I may, let me just cover a few things about infrastructure part 2. And it may clarify some other things you're going to hear later on. But if you look at that Wingrove, Nolensville Pike intersection, that is to the right of the screen right there. That's got to be reworked. It's going to be a major entrance for the expo buildings. It needs another turn lane. It also is going to be impacted by WeGo, who they have the southbound stop that you see there. They're trying to build a northbound stop across the street. This is a very dangerous, across Nolensville Pike. It's a very dangerous intersection. NDOT's also trying to coordinate this with other things that are going on Nolensville Pike. So we're into really kind of designing that and getting that to where we know exactly what all the issues are and then who's going to do what and coordinate that with other metro agencies. As Laura mentioned, we're going to be going back to the Stormwater Variance Committee, kind of catch them up on a lot of these issues, try to optimize the property the best we can. And that's going to be a major effort to go through that process. It was when they did it in 2017. It'll be a major effort this time to go through and get that revised. In the upper left-hand corner, you see right there a roadway. That's as it is existing today. And it goes across Browns Creek, goes up to turn 1. Then it goes up a very steep hill to the area between mixed use and the grandstands. That all needs to be reworked. And this will get back in the Stormwater Variance Committee as well. That all needs to be reworked so that it's more pedestrian friendly. It has more, it's ADA accessible. It can service for the speedway. It can service soccer games. It can service others and improve the connectivity of the site. But that means widening the bridge across Browns Creek and going all the way up to the entrance of Craighead. So that's the big components. The last big component is the area between mixed use and the grandstands and Fair Plaza, and we'll be talking about that in the new business.
So, Ron, thank you for that. So this $41 million for infrastructure phase 2 primarily touches the Wingrove entrance, the road over Browns Creek up to Speedway Alley and Speedway Alley.
Yeah, those are the big components. There's a lot of other things around the campus that need to be done that kind of fall into that category.
Just a quick question. So the new traffic pattern that's going to have to be created out here, is that going to increase the cost? Do you think like creating that new turning lane, the additional turning lane, and
Wingrove?
Yes.
Well, that's all priced in.
It's all priced in.
It's in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't. We need to. The challenge with this whole campus is everything's been funded one project at a time, somewhat isolated from the other projects. So this one's going to tie it together, we hope. And that's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to get all the different components of it and try to determine how they all fit together and fill in a lot of these little gaps.
Commissioner Hartley.
Just following up on Jasper's question, is any of the new sort of contemplated projects, do any of those create any kind of budget risk for you as far as obviously the Speedway proposal we just approved? Anything else? Does anything create a budget risk in this $41 million?
No, I think we're comfortable with the $41 million. I mean, there's certainly I mean, the fairgrounds will constantly evolve, and there's going to be needs for other things. I'm confident once all these things are done. And that's the way it survives. So I think for what we've got identified for now, I think we're in good shape.
And I'll just add that part of the second infrastructure funding contemplated increase in costs that we saw after the pandemic, because there was a 40% increase in construction, like supplies and raw materials. So that was factored in to that cost.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Any other comments? Nope. Thank you so much. Okay. I guess we are ready unless I've missed something. Do you have a mixed use report? Mr. Melton, we will now address mixed use.
Good evening, commissioners. And thank you for the opportunity to speak for a minute. First of all, let me join our group in congratulating you on winning the ULI Excellence in Development Award. That's really terrific. Outstanding recognition for an outstanding community-based project. Like Laura, I've been carrying our trophy around as well, so I'm glad to see it here.
Dirk, let me just clarify. We are not addressing Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley yet. We're going to do that in new business.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So for the mixed-use update, as of this week, the framing for the mixed-use building has reached its top level, the 6th floor on the south end of the building, and that top level will top off to the north end here very soon, the next 2 weeks. The building should be officially topped off on May 18th, which is barely 1 year after foundation work started on the site, which is a great milestone. This is a major construction achievement in that the structure will now be complete, and we'll start working on finishing out the inside of the building. Currently, we have extensive amount of systems being installed inside the building, mainly electrical and plumbing rough ends inside the future residential units. In addition, some exterior materials, mainly masonry and some window units on the ground floor, have started installation as well. The contractor has completed the unit mock-ups for our kitchens and bathrooms that we have reviewed, and that will be the basis for the final selection of unit finishes and appliances for the project. As I reported last month, the structure for the parking garage was nearing completion in April, and now all the precast panels are in place, so the garage is now 100% structurally complete, which is another great milestone. The garage still needs elevators, lights, and associated equipment in order to function, and we're working with NES for the provision of the electrical transformer that's required to power the garage. The timing of that is still open, depending on the availability of a 1500 kVA transformer that we're waiting for, and that will determine when the parking garage will be available for campus events, and we hope that's very soon. So with that, that's the update on mixed use. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Okay.
Seeing none, we thank you. Okay, we will now move to new business. I'm sorry, we will not. We're going to go to community impact discussion, and I just want to clarify for anybody that is watching this or is here, this is something that was set up by Chair McNally 2 years ago when the Bristol proposal was first presented. And we did that in order to give the neighbors an opportunity to hear from us more often than not. And it worked. And so now we've decided we're going to leave it on the agenda because I think it's important. And we're going to expand it. We're going to expand it to include any community neighborhood groups. And they too will have 2 minutes per person for a total of 15 minutes, just like public comment. So any stakeholder, any user of the facility, any neighbor of the facility will now have an opportunity either during public comment time or during community impact to speak to the board and address the board with any concerns and issues that they have. This is clearly done at the chair's discretion. A future chair may change that. But for now, this is the way we have it. If the board decides at some point to implement this as a rule, we can certainly undertake that. But for now, that's the way we're going to handle community impact. Any questions? Okay.
I do have a question. Did you mention any member of the community can come do that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so given that, does anybody wish to speak to us about community impact from a neighbor or a neighborhood? Seeing none, we will move on Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So just one thing for community. I did get an email today or yesterday, just asking us to follow up on overflow neighborhood parking. I believe it stemmed from Saturday, where we had a full campus. We had 3 events here plus a soccer game, so we were rocking. So there was some bleed into Woodland and Waverly wanted us to look into it. So we will sit down with Nashville SC and also our contact at MMPD in Midtown District to see if there's something more that we can do in that part of town in our neighborhood to see if we can help mitigate some of the parking issues in front of people's homes blocking driveways.
I have a point on that.
Sure.
Laura, I think that's great. Certainly second that, my interest is, I think parking is top of mind for everyone. It's very important. One thing I did want to ask, do we have anyone from soccer here today?
No.
I think it's really important, and I know you're probably asking, but I think we need a representative from every major tenant at every meeting. And if they're sort of not wanting to do that, I think we should have a discussion with them about why. It's important to me to have someone here in case we have a question. Of course, I know you're asking, but perhaps we need to elevate that request or something. But I think it's important for those kinds of questions, which you're going to handle really well, for us to be able to have on the record a discussion with soccer about what they're doing.
Commissioner Hendricks, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I've asked for a soccer representative for the last 3 meetings, and nobody showed up, so that we can discuss parking, so that we can discuss so many things that people are asking about, and they still haven't showed up.
Commissioner Owens, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I was saying they had a representative one of the last 2 meetings, I'm pretty sure of.
You're off again.
So I'm sure it's one of them here at one of the meetings we've had previously.
Mary was here. Did you want to add anything? Okay. Seeing nothing else, we are going to move to new business. And we will move into the presentation in consideration of Fair Plaza and the Speedway Alley design. Mr. Melton, you're back up.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak and give some brief introductory remarks before Nathan gives his presentation. They make me sit over there, but I'm actually part of this team over here. Not sure what happened there. But as a quick refresher, the mixed-use project on Block C was designed in such a way that there will be room for community space between the building and the new Benton extension, which is now complete. And the project was also designed to create enough room between the building and the speedway for a new road so that the 2 facilities could share it, both today and for future improvements to the speedway. Both of these public projects that we call Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley are located on Metro property. So while they're not part of our mixed-use project, everything needs to work together. Due to logistics, both spaces needed to be constructed in a manner that does not interfere with racing operations and events at the Speedway, nor the opening of our mixed-use building in the middle of 2024. So we, working with Metro, worked to create a process by which Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley could be designed, constructed, and funded on a schedule that works for all the campus stakeholders. Per the advice of Metro Legal, we propose entering into a participation agreement with Metro, whereby our team, a construction team, could handle the design and construction of both areas and request reimbursement for Metro when those improvements were done. That plan was approved via ordinance with Metro Council at the end of last year, and since then we've kicked off the design process with a great team of public and private stakeholders. Director Womack, Scott Jones, our friends at the Sports Authority, GHP, Barge Coffin, Collier Engineering, Metro Planning, R.C. Matthews, and of course the landscape architect of record, Hawkins Partners. We've been having some very large meetings that have been very productive. Very recently, this team has reached a milestone at the end of the schematic design process to present to you, and one that frankly we and our small team are very excited about, and we hope you will be too. So with that, I'd like to take a chance to introduce Nathan Oliver back to the group again, partner with Hawkins Partners and the principal designer for Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you, commissioners. Really excited to be here today to talk about Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley. So first off, just kind of an orientation, as we kind of covered earlier, it's a big campus. There's a lot of things going on. on it and around it. And so just to kind of provide a little bit of orientation on what this is specifically referring to today. So there's a yellow outline in the center of the page that designates the area that we're talking about that Dirk just described. That's between the Block C development right now and the newly opened Benton Avenue on the north. North is planned right on the page. And then the space between the Block C and the Speedway Grandstand that's on the plan south or on the east side of the page. And so as you can see, it's a really important and prominent space because it sits right in the center of the campus, and it really is going to serve a number of different purposes and really achieve a number of goals that we've talked about for a long time here on the campus. Go to the next slide, Laura. Additionally, more importantly, thinking about just the campus as a whole, with the expo facility that we're at here today, with Geodis Park in the North Plaza that's at the other end of Benton Avenue, and then with Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley that you see in the middle, what we really start to begin to see is creating a network of public and green space that was for a long time not really present on the campus in this form. At the bottom end here at the expo facility, got the multi-purpose space that is used in a number of different ways here today. That will then link up to a future pocket park. That will then link up to the Fair Plaza and Speedway Alley, again, that you see is kind of very centrally located right in the middle of the campus. And then we'll link up to the North Plaza and the East Promenade. What this really begins to do, you can go to the next slide, Laura, if you will. What this really begins to do, and we're really excited about, and I really appreciate the comments earlier today. It's really rewarding for especially a designer like myself who's worked a lot on the campus and knows how challenging it is with grades and connectivity, to hear someone come and speak to actually seeing the benefits of that and seeing that come to fruition. It's really exciting. This is another part of that. So Benton Avenue, which was again designed to constructed to provide an accessible pathway through the campus, is going to link directly up to this space. The lines that you see in that purple color are indicating the pedestrian connectivity. This space will connect directly to that existing sidewalk. It will then provide an accessible pathway through Speedway Alley and will connect to the next work that will happen that Ron described that starts to connect down to Craighead again. It's another piece of that accessible network and the full campus connectivity. Within that, we still maintain the vehicular connectivity that you see there in the black line. That is also the shared bikeway facilities. You've seen the bike facilities that are on Wedgwood. Benton is designed in a way that it's a shared space so that we're traffic calming and to promote the cycling within it, to provide that connectivity. And then Speedway Alley, that we'll see in a moment, it brings in that same philosophy to where we're trying to encourage the connectivity and encourage the traffic calming while still maintaining the access through there for service, for events, and for the traffic that needs to connect north and south on the campus. Get the next slide, please, Laura. And so as we start to zoom in a little bit more, we start to see the space that we refer to as Fair Plaza to the right or the north of Block C, and then the space of Speedway Alley between Block C and the Speedway Grandstand. So from the many meetings that we've had with the stakeholders that Dirk mentioned, it's really been some really wonderful meetings, to be honest, with a number of different stakeholders that are really bringing a comprehensive look and a comprehensive picture to this process. And from that time, we kind of identified goals of how we need to approach and think about this space as we begin to design it. So those are flexible and multi-use. As we know, the Fairgrounds is a space that hosts a number of different types and sizes of events. Anything you can really think of could and has taken place here. But it's also a space that we start to see that public network that we looked at earlier. It starts to bring a community aspect to it. That just enriches that, but it's multi-use and can be multifunctional. We talked about the accessibility and the connectivity to the surrounding space. That is really important in the way that we've looked at it. We have a lot of grade change, as you all know, just on the campus itself. From the part of Fair Plaza that's up adjacent to Geodis Park, we'll have a level connection that comes in right there. But then when you look at the very other end of the project down Benton, we have approximately 18 feet of of elevation that we have to account for. We've been able to do that in a creative way that creates different ways and moments that you can enter the space and navigate it all. There's another connection that we'll see into the Central Fair Plaza, and then a connection up and through Speedway Alley. Again, providing that accessibility and the connectivity. That's one of the goals. Thinking about this as a community space to where the community feels a part of it. It's really exciting to see when you're on campus, just the various people that are walking from the neighborhood to Fair Park and moving through the campus. This will serve another piece of that network that starts to connect those spaces. And then thinking about design, but ensuring that that design is program informed so that it's laid out in a way, that it's sized in a way, that it's designed in a way that supports the programs that need and may occur within this space. So flexibility, multifunctionality, safety, so we have eyes into it, and really good visibility and lighting. But again, it supports the program that's identified at the very beginning. And then lastly, just thinking about the 4 seasons that we have here in a space that really promotes the use of it throughout those. So thinking about the summer months or spring days like today that are nearing 90, shade's really important, and having a space that's comfortable within the warmer months. And then also thinking about the way in which we can promote and encourage activity during those fall and winter times as well. So it's something that we continually think about, providing the ways in which it can be comfortable to users and attract people to the space. I'll start off with Fair Plaza and kind of speak to kind of the general design that we have and some of the goals that we're trying to achieve. So at the top of the page, Geodis Park is directly north of here. As I just explained, there is a level connection that you can walk from the northeast entry of Geodis or from the North Plaza of Geodis straight into this space. It's kind of signified by the gathering tree that we're referring to it as. There's just kind of this moment that it's a little bit of an identifier. It's a little bit of a meetup spot, provides seating within it, and provides space around it that can be gathering space. It can be set up for tents or events, or bring in food trucks adjacent to it. And it kind of becomes a little bit of a hinge moment to it. One thing that we worked really hard to, just from a design standpoint within the campus, is to think about the continuity of the design. We've really thought about this space as a space of flow and energy and activity as the various ways in which it's expressed through the community, through the events, and through people moving through it. A lot of that is through these organic forms that we have, and this starts to bring some of that in from a more of a circular standpoint that starts to kind of work its way down the page that you see. As you move down that grade, again, from the gathering tree to the central lawn is about a 7-foot grade change. But it's also a great opportunity to where we have some sittable steps. It creates a little bit of a seating moment to where you can look out onto the lawn, whether it's an event or whether there's just a community time that there may be people enjoying the lawn in a number of different ways. It creates a moment that we can use the grade to create kind of a significant space there. There's a shade structure associated with that, again, thinking about the way in which we provide shade and comfort. That then brings us to the large central lawn. Within that space, that lawn is about 5,400 square feet. So it's a really nice sized space that can be used for a various number of events or community kind of uses. It can even just be a spot where people bring their own Frisbee, or it can be set up and programmed in a number of ways to promote and encourage that. Surrounding that space against the building is kind of a wide pedestrian space that can be used for movable seating, can be used for outdoor dining. It can be used in a number of ways that encourages activity, but also, as you'll see, it provides really good visibility into the space, into the building, thinking about safety. In the middle of that space is our primary entry point into it. That levels out with Benton Avenue to provide that accessible route into the central lawn area. And from there, you can even travel a little bit further south. You'll see the stage in the deck area. Again, this is just kind of a smaller space that could be set up as a stage if you wanted to have kind of a small event that fronted the lawn. It can also just serve as a shade structure, again, providing that kind of comfort on those warmer days. There's another entry to the south that you'll see that's a stair entry, again, thinking about the grade that we're picking up between those spaces, providing a number of different ways to get into the space. Just below that is another outdoor area that has some artificial turf. It's shaded with trees. And then around that kind of corner where you see that lean rail label is kind of a small kind of lean rail, because that is another space that sits up about 6 feet up on a little perch from Benton Avenue below, again, because of the grade change that we have going down Benton. Becomes a nice kind of moment that you can kind of sit out and look and have a nice view all the way down Benton Avenue and become a little bit of a viewing porch and kind of an edge. People love to get to an edge, love to get to a spot that they can kind of look out and see, whether it's an event day or whether it's just watching the activity on the street go by. The images on the right are really just meant to provide a little bit of background on the type of character that we're looking at, from the sittable steps. A lot of the materials within here will be permeable to meet the stormwater requirements and the LID requirements that we need to infiltrate and treat the stormwater that falls on the site. A lot of that will be achieved with permeable pavers. The artificial turf is permeable and has a stone base below it that helps hold and infiltrate that water. Thinking about the lawn as a very active space to engage the community. It can be the event space. It can be that seasonal spot where those program moments are brought in. And then just thinking about providing various types and ways that people can sit, whether it's a seat wall, whether it's kind of that disc that you see in the picture, whether it's movable seating, so that we're providing a diversity and really an attractive space to be in. And from there, we'll move on to Speedway Alley. That's just around the corner from it. I should mention that, our entire length along Benton Avenue is about 420 feet. So we have a significant frontage to kind of address and engage the community and really provide a space that provides the connectivity to Benton Avenue as you're moving up that space for a good portion of it. Speedway Alley, the extent of this project goes to the back of mixed use. It's approximately 430 feet in length. We're working within the space, as Dirk mentioned, between Block C and the Speedway grandstand. It's about 75 feet that we're working within. Within that, we'll maintain the vehicular connectivity with a 24-foot travelway. You'll kind of see within the center. But we're very much thinking about this space as an extension of that program of multi-purpose and multi-use. It has a coplanar section within the middle of it that you'll see identified there. And that's very much like the second picture from the top is a view of Fifth Avenue between Omni and the Music City Center. That is also a coplanar street, which means there's no curbs. It flows out to where you have a seamless kind of transition from building to building. It makes it very conducive to kind of events and setups and closing the street to make it very much feel like an active space and an extension of a plaza space within there, so it's curbless. On either side of that is kind of more of a standard roadway to where there is a curb. For that, it helps us with drainage and kind of provides some definition within there for that. But that the coplanar section will be protected with bollards and physical elements to keep the vehicle separated from the pedestrians when it's in a vehicular use mode. Starting kind of down at Benton Avenue on the corner, kind of on the bottom corner, there's another set of sittable steps. Again, because of the grade change where the speedway is higher than Benton Avenue. And then it provides a nice moment for a multi-purpose plaza. We thought about this as a great opportunity. If it's a race day, it can be a great promotion spot. You may be putting kind of a race car out there or something. It's also just a good kind of multi-use spot where you can use it for events, very conducive to tents and setups and that sort of thing. As you move up the street there, it's flanked by very wide pedestrian spaces to allow for the flow of pedestrians when it's in vehicular mode, allow for the use of the speedway and the flow of people in and around it, knowing that that's kind of the main location that people will be moving through. There's a lay-by lane on the planned north side of it, again, to accommodate drop-offs, Uber pickups, loading, that sort of thing. And then we've got high pedestrian permeability, again, with that coplanar design and with those bollards. You see the street trees, but they're limbed up in a way, kind of like the picture you see on the right, to allow people to flow through them while providing some shade and comfort below it and to kind of promote sustainable practices of shading our pavements, kind of keeping our heat island down. And then last, where we can fit them in, and because of again, the grade that starts to drop as you go off the left side of the page down towards Fair Park, we have some sittable moments that are worked in adjacent to those landscape areas to provide a diversity of seating types and encourage that kind of active space even when it's in vehicular mode. That's kind of a high-level summary. I guess just from a material standpoint, again, kind of we're looking at similar materials here. We're kind of approaching it as a shared plaza space so it can be conducive and really support that kind of various use of events. And so a combination of pavers, combination of concrete, and really just materials that are very resilient and very tough to support kind of just the very heavy use that we anticipate these spaces having. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to take any questions, and really appreciate your time.
Commissioner Hartley.
Laura, can you go to this slide? This is that one. Thanks. Just a couple questions, mostly just for clarification. Can you remind me in the master plan, and if Dirk needs to jump in, the large block to the right that's currently a parking lot, what will that ultimately be? I think that's block B. 8B.
Yeah, block B. Terrific question. We're trying to figure that out too.
Okay.
There's some blobs in our master plan that were part of our SP preliminary plan zoning, but we haven't started the pre-development of that yet. So that'll be conducive to the rest of the uses, but we're not sure exactly what the mix is.
Okay, thank you. At some point, I'm imagining that someone told me there's a hotel on the footprint, but that's not necessarily slated for that block.
We would love to do that, and that's a terrific location for it because it would benefit the mixed use and the Speedway and the Expo. It's like kind of the perfect spot for it, but that's something we're working on as we get through the planning.
Related to that, and then I do have questions on the thing you actually talked about. The extension of, or not the extension, but the sort of stub end of Rains Avenue that goes up that large hill that dead ends. Is the goal to keep that as a roadway, or what's the goal there?
Yeah, great question. That's something we're actually studying right now because we're learning some things as we've started to see the pedestrian circulation in and around campus events. And so a lot of folks are actually using Rains as the access to get to the top of the hill down from Wedgwood, different and more than we had anticipated. So as we're starting to plan Block A and Block B, we'll be looking at that very carefully to see what the opportunities are for pedestrian engagement and how we're getting folks from one place to another, whether that's a vehicular connection or just a pedestrian connection. I'm not sure right now, but we're definitely making a lot of observations in the first couple seasons of the soccer as it started, and that's something we'll be considering very carefully.
Well, your colleague, Dirk, talked a lot about grade changes, and all I heard was that my workout group is going to be doing hill sprints on the facility. But I was just going to say, maybe a big staircase there, let's focus on pedestrians. Next question I had is Speedway Alley, and this may be more for Laura. I know all these are sort of, I believe I understand all these to be sort of private roads that are sort of closable for our events. Do we imagine that Speedway Alley will be open for vehicular traffic or closed for vehicular traffic for large events, or what's the sort of vision there as I'm trying to envision what that experience will be like for the users?
So we've always anticipated the ability to close roads to protect large pedestrian traffic, right? Foot traffic. With the conversations that we've had with Dirk, and he can chime in, is that it was important though to have multiple entry and exits from all the parking garages. So you'll see as we move on, they all have 2 ways in and 2 ways out, 2 different ways, so that if we close one area, then there's another area to get out. With this, it also serves though, and again, Dirk probably can explain this better, along that side is where the makerspace is going to be located. That was part of the community benefits agreement, as well as some of their back of house. So they'll need, at some points, they're going to have to get in and get trash picked up, and that's where their residents are going to move in and such. So there's going to be some activity there that we're going to have to coordinate. But you'll see that it's a very wide, and we'll be able to utilize a lot of that for, even if we have to block a portion of it so that his residents can get in and he can still service that building, we'll have still a lot of space to block off for safe pedestrian and use by the Speedway.
That's helpful. Is any of the loading dock or anything for either the, I guess we don't know the exact plan of the revised grandstands or the Avengers Tower, as I like to call it, is the loading dock in Speedway Alley for either of those structures? Or what I mean by loading dock is, as you said, the trash pickup, where you'll have big trucks coming in and out. Is it on that long span, the side of the A, or is it the back of the A between the parking garage and the A?
Yeah, it's on the long span, closer to Benton Avenue, closer to the front or the north side of the building, that features all of our loading, trash, deliveries, and back of house, in addition to the incubator space that Director Womack mentioned.
I think it's also important to note that obviously the Bristol deal is going to be pending before council, right? So having this and that section of Speedway Alley constructed at this point where it could be ruined because of a potential grandstand improvement, we don't want to do that. So we are also working with Dirk to be very conscientious about how we do that construction, so it's not going to quite look like the finished product when it opens, because until we really figure out what is going to happen with the grandstands and the scope of that footprint.
And that's well said. That's the one outcome that's possible or likely is that, should there be, another arrangement for Speedway improvements, we might choose to stop the work that we would do at a certain point going toward the Speedway, identically to what we're doing with Geodis Park. You can notice their promenade is not complete all the way across the street because we're utilizing some of that for construction. We would foresee a similar situation with the Speedway once that moves along.
Diego.
Thank you. Mine is a little bit more the relationship between capital budget and an operating budget, right? This is exactly what I did with Metro. So if you don't mind elaborating a little bit more on how understanding the recurring cost and maintenance costs and whatnot, how was that baked into your design process, right? Because sure, this costs X many millions to do today, but as Laura knows very well, this costs and so many other millions to operate throughout the next however many years. So it's a trifold question, right? So the first one is very high level. How do you bake into the design that piece? The other one is if in more colloquial terms, you can help us understand how this design is optimal versus a cheaper yet not so cool, beautiful design, and how is this cheaper than what would be a pie in the sky, every designer's dream to say you have open checkbook, have at it, right? So for contextualize for the public to understand how this is optimal design or as close to optimal design as we can get to. And the third would be, you mentioned already how hardy materials can be, the ones that you have in here, but also when can or should we expect to start having to invest capital again in this area in particular, right? So I know that's a lot of questions and all that, but thank you.
Yeah, no, those are great questions. So I think to your first question of how do we kind of infuse it in the process, during those stakeholder meetings that we have, we regularly talk about capital budget versus the operating budget, because one thing that we don't want to do as a designer is design something and then come back a year later or 2 years later or 3 years and it be not what it was envisioned because it was something that just couldn't be maintained. So we've kind of missed it on both regards there. So a lot of those conversations are had throughout the process, and we're tasked with identifying materials and spaces that can handle the type of program and use that we're envisioning within them. Obviously, we are all envisioning and planning for a very high amount of use here. Obviously, we're going to get it from event days. We're also planning on it being a very active neighborhood and it getting regular use. So we're thinking about that in our materials and design selections. We're thinking about that in the ways that we provide that diversity. You know, it may be for instance, sittable walls. It may be a combination of, fixed furniture that's really tough and it's something that doesn't take a lot of maintenance to upkeep, and kind of something that's kind of recurring. And we're also thinking about the longevity of it, so it's not something that you're coming back in 5 years and having to replace it. So some of that comes with a little bit higher capital cost, compared to the, what you may say is the most utilitarian approach to it, and finding material that's resilient and finding material that matches kind of the campus in terms of the vision that it's kind of been laid out for it. I kind of mentioned earlier too that we also want it to feel like it's connected and a part of the rest of the campus. And so thinking about the materials or the colors or the finishes that we're using is a part of that. But a lot of it's also just the forms that we're using. So from when you're in a space, it feels like you are still within the campus and a part of that. It doesn't feel like you've kind of crossed another threshold. We're at schematic design, which means we're kind of setting the vision out for it, making sure that everything works. And as we continue to advance it to the construction document phase, that's when we're constantly kind of checking back and working with our construction team to say, okay, are we still on the same track that we were in terms of budget, making sure that, what we're designing and detailing is aligning to that. It's something we really like to do, as opposed to get to the very end and say, okay, here's your package. Now go price it and construct it, because a lot of times you miss a lot of opportunities within there to kind of work together. So they're engaged, and we're already working through those kind of activities with them. And then I know, just from a long-term standpoint, we're talking with Laura and Dirk and the other stakeholders about how do we think about operations and maintenance of all these spaces together. And I don't know if Laura, you want to speak to that a little bit, but it's something that we bring into our process. We're landscape architects. Everything we do, or a large percentage of what we do, is living, and something that has to take some care and maintenance. There's different levels of that, and just like Fair Park that we talked about, like thinking about, there's maintenance to that, to your point in question, but that is designed in a way that the maintenance is kind of limited to where you kind of let it naturally occur. In these kind of spaces, we look to use materials that are tough, can handle, a bunch of abuse, can handle, the activity and wear that may be on them, but also can provide kind of the aesthetic goals that we have. And that's from a landscape standpoint, plant selections, from a hardscape standpoint, material selections that are lasting and have a longevity to them.
Thank you. Appreciate the answer. Can I ask one more? At what point is reasonable to expect? Because I know that we can always project, or we should be able to project the impact that this would have in revenue, right? You have a beautified campus, all of this, it's great cohesively with everything else that is here. We can have a peak in revenue, say, well, this is so beautiful, so usable, so well designed, that we should expect a peak there, but also in the expense and operating side. So, and probably we won't get an answer right now, but it would be interesting to know, when is it reasonable for the board to expect an analysis? Would be the same way that we're expecting this revenue to go up by a factor of X. We're also expecting operating expenses to go a factor of X, if not per project, at least a fair estimation to continue to assess cost benefit, right? Again, for the benefit of the public to understand how we're investing in this asset.
So we've had, as Nathan mentioned, we've had initial conversations with Dirk and then Nashville SC, and they will extend to Bristol if that deal is approved through council, as how all of our campus partners are going to come together to maintain shared spaces, because we're all going to benefit from it. These are all, what the spaces that we're talking about today are Metro owned. They remain with the Fairgrounds and their Fairgrounds property, but it is not going to be our sole responsibility to pay for its maintenance and upkeep when we all share. And I will tell you,
share the benefit, like you said. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one statement that I really, really liked when we sat down for the design charrette is we designed based on our programming. We're not programming to fit a design. And so Nathan and his team really sat and listened to the things that we thought and how we could activate the space, and then design to that. So, this has gone through several iterations, and I appreciate them listening, because we talked about flea market expansion. We talked about potential farmers market that we can add to the flea market. We talked about fair uses, and they really took that into consideration with this design. We wanted an open, flexible space with not a lot of stuff. I had to tell, there was a couple times where we were like, take some more stuff out. But it is a very flexible site that we're able to be have a variety of programs there.
Any more questions?
No, thank you. It is beautiful. It just, that's why it worries me. It would be expensive to maintain. It tends to be the case, but great job, guys. Thank you.
Commissioner Owen, do you have any questions? Commissioner Hartley, do you have any other questions?
Laura, do you have any concerns with this proposal? Obviously, you participate in the preparation of it. Do you have any concerns from operating the fairgrounds for this proposal?
No, like I said, we've gone through probably 4 or 5 different concepts at this point, and I think we're on the right track. I will give you a caveat, but and Dirk will say this as well. We have not gone through pricing on this yet. We've got a very specific budget for this project. So an approval or an endorsement of this design certainly would be contingent upon getting all that pricing back and making sure it's within budget.
I would add, this is funded out of that infrastructure part 2 budget. So, and we have it accounted for in Ed's summary sheet.
Is this the line item that says Plaza and Road Construction Contingency? Okay, thank you.
And to add to that as well, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but we are going through those processes sequentially with this. So we're constantly checking design with budget to ensure that we're tracking together as we're advancing. One, so we can meet the timeline that we've got set for this, and two, so that we can get to the point that we issue the documents that are going to be the construction documents, and we know that they're in line with the budget, because we've kind of been in that hand in glove along the way.
Okay, so to that end, I am going to ask for a motion to approve this design contingent upon the pricing coming in within budget.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Hartley.
Yeah. And we kind of fleshed this out a little bit, but obviously the big block to the bottom of the screen here, the speedway, is a little TBD. I know the designs are already kind of in progress on that. I just want to make sure that we don't do a motion that doesn't account for potential changes there that could impact the design. And what I mean by that is, and maybe just a question for you, Sherry, as we're making this motion to approve this design, I would want to have flexibility for the design team to account for changes in how the speedway proposal comes out, you know, as far as setbacks and things. I'm not a designer. I'm not going to know these things, but I just want to make sure we can account for those modifications and give enough latitude that they don't have to come back and ask for an additional approval.
Can you speak to that? Just in terms of, you know, your pricing process and giving yourself leeway. Ron, you may have some insight into that insofar as the infrastructure budget. And
I'm not worried. I'm not as worried about the budget. I'm sorry, Ron, just saying, I'm not as worried about the budget because we clearly have a contingency there. I'm more worried about, would there be a need to change any of the design elements depending on the ultimate design of the speedway?
Which is why I brought up the infrastructure, because it's all connected. Go ahead.
Right, and that's an excellent question, and they will. We have been sharing these drawings with them. We're trying to set up another meeting with them this week, actually. As they develop their designs, things do evolve, and they may be some things that they would ask, particularly to accommodate their entrances and their access. And again, the infrastructure part 2 continues that speedway alley on around to the left. So all of that is things we're trying to coordinate with them, but they're still putting their designs together. And those of us who are in the business know that as they evolve, there are tweaks and things that you have to do. But they have seen this, and we've been coordinating with them and saying, this is what you get. As Dirk mentioned, you know, we'll coordinate the construction with them as well once we have it resolved, if the council decides to go with it. Does that make sense?
It does, and I guess the plat of land that is the speedway doesn't really change. I mean, that's a legal description of the land, so it's not like the roadway is going to become more narrow. I really just want to make sure that we have enough flexibility. I don't want you guys to design something awesome and then the speedway come in and say, actually, we're going to do apples next to your oranges and nothing works together. Obviously, you're talking to them now. I just don't want to make sure we don't have to come back and reapprove anything. That's my big concern, and I don't know how to get that into your motion, but that is my concern.
Let us pause. I think if there are any substantial changes that would impact the development of the process, they would have to come back to us anyway, right? Yeah, we can put that in the motion that they have to come back to us.
That is fine with me. Yeah, that's fine with me.
And fair to assume that not all adjustments should be done by this design, but also their design would have to adjust to what we approve as the rest of the campus, right?
So any changes to the design and any impact greater than the pricing that's permitted, it's got to come back. So we approve the design based on those two contingencies, for lack of a better word.
I would say, yeah, material changes to the design presented today, come back, or changes to the pricing, come back. Does that work for you guys? That'd be my suggestion.
Okay, so I'm just going to accept that as an amendment and just ask for approval of the motion as amended. Do I hear approval of the motion as amended? Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Hardley?
Yes.
And I am a yes, so it passes, and we appreciate all your hard work. Okay, seeing there is no more business on the agenda, I will ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I had one other item.
Yes.
Sherry.
Sure.
I reached out to Laura after the Covenant shooting just to ask her to discuss what our firearms policies were here at the fairgrounds. And I just want to report that I was very, very satisfied with her response. We have a best-in-class policy that, and Laura, you can jump in, but I'm just giving you a lot of credit. We've spoken with Metro. We have the best I would say, safe policy that we can have here at the facility. So I just wanted to put on the record that I appreciate that, and that, obviously that's top of mind for a lot of people. So thank you, Laura, for that work.
Thank you, but the credit definitely goes to Metro and Metro Legal, because they gave us as department heads a wonderful presentation to explain all of the rules, both state and local regulations in regards to facilities like ours. And a result of that is a lot of the postings that you see on the doors that we now have on our building. So a lot of credit to Metro Legal for giving us that presentation.
Anything else? Seeing none, I now ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we have an adjournment of this May meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I am an aye. We are adjourned. Thank you for being here.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.